Senior Product Marketing Manager Anand Rao, along with Senior Software Consultant for ER Studio, Solomon Waters. At this point, I'm going to turn the webinar over to Anand Rao. Anand, the forum is yours.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. My name is Anand Rao. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for ER Studio. And today we are going to talk about ER Studio and how it's used for data governance. So, quickly going over the definition of data governance. So data governance is a set of policies, rights, and accountabilities for managing information to identify and improve business value. The mission is to provide reliable and relevant information for compliance, controls, and decision making. And the benefits are to increase revenue or to decrease costs or reduce risk. So let me dive a little deeper in what we mean by reliable and relevant information. So by relevant data, we mean accessibility. How readily can the data be located and accessed? Comprehensibility. Can the users understand and use this data? Credibility. Do the users trust this data, the sources and integrity of the production process for this data? And validity. Does the data measure what it's intended to measure? So these are some of the questions and for the relevancy of the data. The next comes the reliability of the data. So we can talk about availability of the data. Are the data sources reliable and persistent? Timeliness of the data. Is the length of time between a business event and the data publication relevant for business use? We can talk about completeness of data, whether there's no missing data, and consistency of data, whether the data is consistent over a certain period of time. Historically, many data governance efforts have been ineffective. In many, if not most organizations, there's a substantial gap between the abstractions and strategies of data governance, the blue box that you see, and the execution-focused activities of IT, the orange box that you see below. So data governance is a kind of change management writ large, but all too often it's characterized by binders on shelves, no buy-in, and nobody takes notice. So we at Embarcadero have seen many of our customers have this issue, and I've looked at it deeply and have come up with an enterprise information map. So an enterprise information map is a mode to classify the enterprise information by meaning, business relevance, usage, and authority. So it answers several questions. What does this data mean in terms of the business definitions? Why do we have this data? What applications and processes does this data support? And how important is this data? How do we manage and use this data? Is it sensitive, synchronized, and retained? How is it best used to answer important business questions? Who uses this data? What organizations and business functions depend on this data? Who is responsible for this data? And finally, but most importantly, where is this data? Where does it physically reside? So why did we have to take a closer look at data governance? So many of us know that the challenge is because of mobile and cloud adoption, there's a 30 to 50% year-over-year data growth. IT needs to manage and do more with the data to remain competitive. At the same time, the business needs to comply with standards and regulations and obtain the reductions in IT spend. So the current state, as I previously touched upon, is that organizations have invested heavily in governance consulting, months of efforts and only binders to show for it. Many people don't know where to start. So we at Embarcadero have built an approach. We build an enterprise information map, a metadata foundation to enable collaboration, comprehension, and synchronization. It also has the tools to standardize the metadata to drive quality, efficiency, and effectiveness. So Forrester and analysts have estimated that enterprises use only 5% of the available data to derive insights. So increasing this 5% number is definitely a competitive weapon. So we previously looked at this gap between the strategic policies of data governance and the tactical execution at the IT layer. The Embarcadero tools fill this gap. ER Studio provides the data architecture, providing the assessment and planning for your data governance efforts. At the same time, we also have the portal product. Many of you are familiar with the portal product. We plan to release an enhanced portal product called Connect in the second quarter. So the portal contains two important layers, the metadata governance layer and the enterprise information map. These two layers combined allows metadata syndication, which is it puts metadata to work and adds the metadata and the governance awareness to workflows across the Embarcadero product portfolio and the implementation lifecycle. So how does this create value? The metadata governance provides the essential collaboration layer to the enterprise information map so that all the stakeholders, the data architect, the data steward, the data subject matter expert, the data analyst, and the governance team are able to share and collaborate on this information. So the value proposition for the syndication part of the data governance platform for data architects is so that they could coordinate and reuse the architectural diagrams with peer architects. They can approve, review, and coordinate with business analysts and developers. On the governance and collaboration front, the data steward and the data subject matter expert and the governance team can collaboratively author, review for business, and approve the metadata. For information management professionals, it allows greater comprehension and access to policy. So in a nutshell, we relate everything to the data. So we can easily walk up and down the stack. So if you're looking at a governance policy, you can see the application it applies to, and you can see which tables actually participate. Likewise, if you're looking at a table in some system, you can easily see which policies govern that data or processes or applications that use that table. So the demo that we're going to have shortly will go over the tools. So in order to map the tables to the business processes, we have the business architect. In order to reverse engineer the technical metadata, we have the data architect. In order to publish to the portal and map the policies to the table, we have the portal. Many of you have seen some kind of maturity level scale of data governance efforts within enterprises. We have specifically called out the scoping phase as a very important phase within data governance and the key for data governance success. This is where you plan your data governance efforts and you scope your data governance efforts. So this is the phase highlighted in red. And just as a reminder, from the top to the bottom is increasing levels of maturity for your data governance efforts. So for each of these phases of data governance, we have several features attached or relevant to that phase. So we have the ability to reverse engineer. We have our product ER data lineage for data from ETL sources. We have our repository for scalability. In addition, we have introduced an updated portal in the recently launched XE3 release. So the features highlighted in red are the new features. We have custom data types to comprehensively do reverse engineering. In addition, we've got the data dictionary, the naming standard template, which allow you to do standardization on the technology and the methods. We have the ability for roles to be established in the security of the repository. So we've got security center groups where you can create your data governance groups within ER Studio. We've got the enterprise data dictionary. We are capable of inferring domains. We also have the new universal mappings, which allow you to connect all the processes and the data as one end-to-end mapping. And then when there's continuous improvement, the business users can use the portal to collaborate on the data. So with that, let me hand it over to Solomon Waters, who will talk you through the demo of all these features and help you with your data governance efforts.